Hey guys, it's SJ. Happy Baby Name Monday. Today's list is a follow-on from last week's boy name list where I did loads of names, sort of 50 plus, that were all kind of stylish, bohemian type of names. This is really a sweet spot for so many of us that we love names like Ivy, Willow, and all of those that are quite high up in the charts. And even I think Olivia, which is our #1 girl name in the UK, really fits into this kind of beautiful, charming, soft sounding boho name. So I found loads more that are unranked or lower down the charts that I think could be an alternative that you will love. So hit subscribe if you love baby names. I do new lists every single Monday. There's also the podcast Baby Name Envy, and you can find us on Instagram at Baby Name Envy, where we take dilemmas from you and really run it more as a kind of advice service, because it's lots of fun and you guys can get involved in giving advice either on Instagram or over on our community on the Peanut app, which is really going fun. There's lots of lives over there as well if you want to chat live. So first name I have is the name Mila Ray. So a really unusual name. This name is actually Chilean, and it's been apparently in the top Chilean charts for a while, but hasn't really travelled around the world yet. And it's so pretty, isn't it? Because we love the soft Y at the end, and it means golden flower. So a great alternative to something like an Aurelia, a Mila Ray, really beautiful, or an Amelia. Isn't it really similar sounding, but just so unique, and I love it written down. The next name is the name Purdy. So really quite different in vibe, but again, really, really soft sounding and really, I think, gentle. What's interesting about it is I love virtue names, and I really think they fit into like a bohemian style. And it was an oath. So Purdy was for God, and it was somebody who used this oath a lot. And I saw the name recently on a TV show, and I was like, oh my gosh, I absolutely love it, Purdy. So a really unique one for a girl. It kind of got the scout kind of vibes, doesn't it? Eska is a beautiful name and actually means one who feels strongly for nature. So really cool, and it's got sort of the end of like a Francesca or the middle of a Jessica. So if you've got those types of names in your family, or you just love the sound of it, just going with Eska for somebody who feels strongly for nature is such a special type of a name. The next name is also really a unique one, and it's Eos. So it's a really rare name. It's actually a Greek name meaning nightingale. So I just think it's really cool. It's got slight Isla vibes in that it's sort of got sort of sounds that you first find a little bit challenging. Eos. She was actually the Greek titan of the dawn. So again, it's got that kind of sunrise feeling to it as well, but then also means nightingale as well. So it's got kind of day and night vibes, and a really gorgeous name written down. Could make a really beautiful middle spot. Solveig is an unusual name. It is Scandinavian and it means strong house, and I really love the V. I think that I'm always looking for unique names with a V in it because so many of us love it for our girls. And Solveig with the SOL meaning sun as well, which could be a cute little nickname, but Solveig together actually means strong house. And there's a really gorgeous one with a silent G at the end, so quite an unusual spelling, but one that's really easy to overcome if you sort of just say it enough times when you see it written down. Wild by itself as a nickname is starting to become quite talked about. It has an E at the end when you bring it to the beginning like this, and instead of wilder, which is more masculine, wild just for a girl is really gorgeous. And then I've got Lavender on this list, which is of course a garden botanical name, but one that I really love, and again with that V sound. And I think that when you're going for a kind of bohemian or fashion forward type of name, you can take these a bit further. So then like a lily or even a lilac, a lavender is really, really wearable, and I think it's becoming more and more wearable. Elora is an interesting name because we hear Aurora so much, but you can also go with Elora, and then it's got that L sound in it that we really, really like, and it's an old Latin name from the laurel tree, which was the evergreen shrub, and they all actually used to make the crowns out of laurels, so it's quite a beautiful name, Elora. And then I've got Whimsy. So this is more of a playful name. I've got a few little playful gems on here, and Whimsy is kind of a nickname. You have to be quite daring to use it, but it could just be a fun little family nickname if you weren't brave enough to use it as a first name. And it was, you know, we talked about these names being quite whimsical, and to be whimsical is to be really playful, and it's just a really fun, free type of a name, Whimsy, and I can really see it being used. I think it's a really fun one. Arienne is really nice and actually means spiritual girl, Arienne, and I think it's really gorgeous and lower down the charts than you would imagine, with all the sort of similar sounding ones higher up. And again, a bit of a playful one, the name Bobby for a girl. I love it. I think it's so much fun. I love B sounds. There's a few more B names coming up, and it means bright or shining, which I think really puts it into this kind of, you know, boho vibe of spirited girl names where they're just so shining, so bright. And I think Bobby gets a little bit underlooked as well in this sort of nickname as first name trend. It's a great one. Sequoia is again a bit of a harder one to say. It's a tree name, and we hear a lot of tree names coming in, obviously Willow being kind of the poster girl for bohemian names, but Sequoia is a really, really gorgeous one. The name Sequoia actually means to follow. That was the Latin root of the word sequoia for the tree, to follow, which I just think is really, really lovely as well. Fei, spelled like this, F-E-I, is actually a Chinese spelling rather than the one we're more used to with the Y, which means fairy. Fei like this means to dance in the air, which just makes me feel so happy and joyous, and that feeling of freedom and festival vibes that you would get from a Fei. Sherwood, that's the more challenging one, isn't it? Because you think of Sherwood Forest, so it's more of a word name, but I really love word names. If you follow the channel, I do lots of lists of word names, and it means bright forest. Sherwood Forest was obviously where Robin Hood and the thieves were, and I love that story so much. And we're seeing a lot of names like Avalon and things like that coming through, mythical places, but Sherwood Forest could work if you like the sound of it. Avanthi is a gorgeous Greek name, and Greek names are really popular. It's actually the #1 group of names that have travelled around the world the most are Greek names, and Greek goddesses probably had a lot to do with that when it comes to our girls. I love Avanthi. I think it's really unusual, and it means fair flower, and it's a little bit less travelled than some of the other Greek names, but a really beautiful one. Oath as a word name, a challenging one, but I am seeing it on a few name lists at the moment, where we're kind of jumping off, I guess, from things like true and names like that, and going into more unique names like Oath. I think it could really work as a gorgeous little middle spot when it's one name. Now this name is so unique. It's a name from Greenland that I came across, and it's been in my mind to share it. I wonder what you think of it. And it's Pipalook. Pipalook. So it's really hard to say it. So it's like Pippa, but then the L-U-C is Luke at the end, Pipalook. So that's how I would pronounce it. I've listened to tons of pronunciations online, but let me know if you know a little Pipalook. It could also be Pipalook, but it's really, really challenging one. But I just think it is so gorgeous written down, and could just be such a playful little spirited name if that's really what you're after. And the meaning is amazing. So it means sweet little thing who belongs to me. Isn't that just amazing? There is a famous person called Pipalook, so yeah, look her up, but I just absolutely loved it. Cersei is a beautiful name meaning bird, so it's really gorgeous written down, looks so nice, and is becoming more mainstream. There was a big book, Cersei, recently, which really put it on people's radar. She was the goddess of magic, so a really whimsical, fun and joyous name as well. Word name again, how about the name Breeze? So this is coming up on a few different name lists, with the nickname Bree being quite a well-worn one-syllable girl name. Breeze could be for you. And then I found this really lovely name, which is Ebony. So it means archer, so it's a variation of Yvonne, which was quite a classic, I would say, sort of 60s name, Yvonne. It's kind of gone out of vogue a little bit, but Ebony coming in I really like, because Everly is so popular, and I actually really liked it with the N sound at the end, a little bit different. Selby, I love, meaning from the Willow Farm, because I've always liked Shelby, but I actually prefer Selby. I think it just looks so gorgeous written down. It could be a BB as a nickname. Calico is really nice. It's actually a type of print, calico, but it has been used by a few as a baby name, where it's a breed of cats, a calico cat, which is nice to know if you're a cat lover, but I just think it is so cool and trendy. There's some beautiful Cornish names when you look for them. I'll do a whole Cornish name list, because I love Cornwall so much, and Talwyn is a really unusual one with that win sound that a lot of us absolutely love, and it means fair brow, Talwyn, but I just think it's so gorgeous, isn't it? The more you say it, Talwyn sounds lovely. and a one syllable name, Fleur. So a lot of these, I'd love you can mix it up below and let me know which we would have as a first and a middle, because you can really imagine a tailwind Fleur. Isn't that just really, really beautiful, and just perfectly fits this sort of whimsical boho name. Fleur, I just think gets a little bit underlooked and is so gorgeous. Indra is lovely and means possessing raindrops. So beautiful weather sort of themed name. Hero, I love the name Hero. You can spell it either with the I or the E, and it means, you know, to be heroic, but I love it and I think it's gorgeous for a girl. It's more often used as a masculine to sound to being the hero or the heroine, but I actually think hero as a girl name is beautiful. Amorette, so amor meaning love, and amorette, if you add the E and the T, sometimes you could keep the T silent, but I like it with the T, amorette. Gorgeous, it's a character name from a book from the Fairy Queen, where she was representing married love, amorette, and I just think it's really lovely as a name. Quinlan is lovely. We loved Quinn, it sort of trended a few years ago, but you can add the LAN at the end and make it a little bit elongated and a little bit more of a feminine touch. Kind of means fair or attractive, Quinlan. So it's more pretty written down, I think, than the meaning. There's a bit of a strange meaning. Chantara is Thai and it's got the most beautiful meaning. It means moon water, Chantara. I just think it is so gorgeous, and I love the next meaning as well. It's Ramon, so kind of a 70s vibe name. You might think, oh, that's not sort of so you know, fashionable at the moment, Ramon, from Ramona, but it means protecting hands, and I absolutely love that meaning so much, and I really can get into the spirit of this being like a really trendy name. Twyla is lovely, quite popular at the moment, wanted to add it onto my list. There's my little girl Javelina, and it means woven with a double thread, so if you're into creating, I feel like it's a really creative name. Another one ending in the T is Musette. So if you add the ET at the end, it kind of is young one in French, and so somebody's added the ETTE, Musette, to mean child of the muses. I feel like this is a bit of an invented name, but I really like it. I think it is really gorgeous. Sachi, I love this name so much because it means miracle, or miracle child, Sachi, and I love it. I've heard it a couple of times recently coming up. A character on some podcasts I was listening to is called Sachi, and I was like, good, it's coming into the mainstream, because I just think it is so beautiful. Allegra is more well known on this list, but I just one I absolutely love because it's got the meaning of that musical, the Allegro, and fast piece, Allegra, and for me it's got such festival boho vibes. I just think it's beautiful. It means cheerful in Italian, and I feel like this list should be cheerful and jolly. Lisha, just Lisha by itself, I really think that's gorgeous. So unique and different, and it means sweet or honesty in Old English. So I think that's a really gorgeous one, and with the S and the H sounds, they're really gorgeous. Keridren is a Welsh name, and it's just really sold on its meaning because she was the Welsh goddess of poetic inspiration, so again like a muse, Keridren, and I just think it's so gorgeous. I love it, and if you want something that's a little bit strong but beautiful, I think the Wen sound at the end is gorgeous. Somerild is a really unusual name. It's Scandinavian, and it's Sommer meaning summer and traveller, so summer traveller, Somerild. Really lovely. Again, it would change in pronunciation, I think, depending on where you're from, and I think that's okay, Somerild, but I love summer as a name. That's my niece's name, and I think it's really interesting when you add it with the O. Ariadne, Greek again, meaning dream. Ariadne, just such a gorgeous name, one that would never go forgotten. I think it's lovely. And then Calypso, I've seen this name being used quite a lot, and it's gorgeous. It means island, but it's also sort of somebody who escapes to the island, so I just think it's really nice. I'm actually going to recommend this to a friend of mine. So she was an island nymph who escaped off to the islands, and I just think it's such a gorgeous name, Calypso. Vale, really interesting. Valley we've talked about before for a girl, and you can add the I and the E or the E and the Y and keep it as traditional valley, meaning, you know, the formation in nature, a deep valley. But I really like Vale, and I think as a one syllable short name could be really beautiful for girls. Bali actually means strength, and I really love it with the L. Sounds very, very feminine and wearable, but obviously you think about the island as well, and island life, and I sort of was getting into that vibe at this point. Evangeline, which means bringer of good news. I love that name. My daughter's Evelina, she quite often gets called Evangeline, and I'm not mad about it. Yardley is an interesting name because it's a brand name, Yardley, a very old English brand name, so maybe not around the world if you're somewhere else, and it means a fenced meadow. And I think really works. Oakley has become really popular for boys, as we know, so why not Yardley for girls? Skipper is a really fun, playful one, meaning to leap or to skip, and I really wanted to find names that kind of meant dance and joyfulness on this list, and I think Skipper is a really fun one. Jocasta is an interesting name. It's Greek, so Jocasta, I don't know if you would say the sea, but it means sparkling moon. So isn't that beautiful? And if you're honouring a Joe or Joanna, you want something a bit different, you could go with that. Nixie means water imp. I think it's really playful and fun, like a pixie, but Nixie. And again, sounds so similar to Nikki. I think it's almost maybe more wearable than a pixie. Joyce, again, a very old English name, but actually means rejoice, and I'm seeing joy on so many middle name spots now. I think that Joyce could be a real contender for a first name. Reverie, we've talked about this before, it's one of my all-time favourites, and it means to daydream or to walk in a daydream-like state. Reverie with that V is so wearable. Bibiana is really nice. You could even go Bibiana if you wanted to, and it means lively. I love lively by itself just as a name. It's so gorgeous, but I love it with Bibi as well, but a bit of a longer form to it with Bibiana. So I know the Bibiana, and that's how she pronounces it, but you could pronounce it Anna, as they said. Daphne, it's still kind of on the outskirts a little bit, and she was the nymph daughter of the river god, so a really gorgeous one and a bit more of a safe bet if some of these are a little bit too unique for you. Daphne's a little bit more wearable because it's so vintage. Tallulah is a really interesting name. It means leaping water, which makes me really love this name a lot. It's one that you would, what would you shorten it to? Let me know in the comment section below what you would shorten it to. Bellamira is a really interesting long form of Bella. Bellamira, it sounds really exotic to me. I really love it, and it means beautiful and wondrous put together. And the last one I have here is the name Aura. So we often talk about being able to see somebody's aura, but she was the titan of the breeze and the cool air. So I just think that that's a really gorgeous name, and one that it sort of fits all my themes together that I was going for, with it being kind of short and sweet and playful and kind of bohemian, but also have this beautiful meaning that really puts you into a time and place and a feeling with that cool morning breeze. So I hope you found something there new and that you absolutely loved and enjoyed. If you enjoyed this list, do blend some together in the comment section below, add more to the list and get involved. There's loads of things you can do in the description box below, and come and join me over on the podcast. The podcast this week is really fun. We're doing lots of dilemmas, somebody who feels they're pregnant on paper waiting for an adoption, couples who can't agree, and I'm trying to blend names together for them, and there's loads more over on the Baby Name Envy podcast, which is on my computer. Have a lovely rest of your week, and I will see you next week for more names. Bye guys.